Welcome to Give a Heck. I am your host, Dwight Heck, and for much of my life, lived my life in quiet desperation, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, take vacations, save for retirement, and one day wondering if I would get off the hamster wheel of life and have purpose. A life that most of society lives, which takes us to work, then home, then repeat, and pays us hopefully enough just to survive. The harsh truth that most live with more month than money and have no idea how to live life on purpose, not by accident. This ensures the mass majority are living not just financially broke, however emotionally and mentally as well due to financial pressures. In each episode, I will introduce you to thoughts, ideas, and guests that can help you to learn how you too can live life on purpose, not by accident. Good day and welcome to Give a Heck. On today's show, I welcome Chris Brown. Chris is an empowering speaker and transformational life coach who lives his message daily through service for others, energizing perspectives, and a healthy lifestyle. In 2009, he was an inactive, obese man weighing over 430 pounds, suffering from sleep apnea and depression. At age 29, he faced a vision of his own funeral in the near future, whereby he felt the pain it would bring his family and friends. From then on, he turned every practice of his life around, including receiving help from professionals, working with coaches, taking counterintuitive actions, and becoming a personal trainer. After 5 years helping clients and achieving a 200-pound weight loss, he came to a major fork in his business and personal life, facing more inner adversity than ever on a whole new existential path. What followed was much more revealing in Chris's story of depth, resilience, and how it is possible for anyone to experience life-changing results. Chris has been maintaining a weight of 195 pounds for over 6 years without surgery, is debt-free, very attractive outdoors, and gives to Operation Underground Railroad and local CrossFit communities. I'd like to welcome you to the show, Chris. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on and share with us some of your life journey.
Thank you, Dwight. It's an honor to be here with you, brother, and I'm grateful to be in your presence and with your audience. It's a wonderful day to be alive.
Thank you so much. I agree. Blessed and highly favored to wake up every day and have the opportunity to meet great people and have conversations with them. So I look forward to this. So let's get started. So, Chris, I'm a huge person in regards to understanding somebody's origin. And many people, when they have conversations, they want to know where people are at currently. They never really talk about the fact of, where did it all begin? Where did it all start? And why I got into the origin thought process is that I'm a huge Marvel, Star Wars geek. And you think about those, what do? They start in the middle, and then they all of a sudden, after it's successful, they decide, oh, let's do a movie series about the origin, right? Star Wars did it, right? So did Marvel. They do it all the time. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I think I would like some of this stuff more if I knew the origin first. But, when it comes to what I want to do, when it comes to connecting to people, I want to know their origin story. So tell me your origin story. What are the key things from your childhood to adulthood that led you to where you're at currently?
Powerful question. I like it. The origin, the prequel of it all, where we begin. I would begin with a place of gratitude to all of that, all of the challenges growing up. I actually resided right here in St. Louis, Missouri. My parents met. My father was a man from the country up northeast Missouri on the farm town, and my mother was here, half Italian. She's 100%, and they met in mid-Missouri at the University of Missouri, Mizzou. And they created me back in 1979. So actually, no, the origin was a barbecue. I guess my father shared that with me one day during my journey. I asked him, I don't know, conception was in the conversation, but he just revealed, this is exactly where we made you and how that
That's so awesome.
I mean, I'm like, where? I mean, I didn't know that would come about today, conversation, but yeah, he basically laid it out that they were at a barbecue with the family. My mom said, hey, we cooler, just make up an excuse. I don't know, we got to get out of here. He's like, this is when you want to go. Like, right. And, yeah, so I guess things like barbecues, like family outings happen for a reason. Live action Chris Brown being one of them. The long and short origin right there.
Love it. But, I've never keep on going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that was the 80s. I grew up Roman Catholic here, and I have one older brother, my brother Corey, 2.5 years older than me, and we were raised in the Italian segment of going to the Hill, they call it, here in St. Louis. They actually just did a documentary on PBS called I think it was The Last Italian Neighborhood, or the one true Italian neighborhood that's still up and running or prominent, and it did really well, citing the Hill in St. Louis. So I actually went to a preschool there ran by the Penguins, the Nuns, as they're referred to by the Blues Brothers. And I always loved food from that early age. I think that was the first time I went on a diet. Was everyone else got their candy bar, and I think my father said to tell the nuns, go on the apple when he gets everyone else gets a candy bar. And it started to seem like I was different in that regard. I became into the food, but also just it's very separate in terms of my association, my relationship with the food. And then I began noticing a very rapid weight gain from first to second grade. I think it was like up over 120 pounds by the time I was in second grade that summer. And all those things definitely helped me looking back on them, because I wouldn't be here, as you cited, without them. But I just really noticed that I was the only one of maybe a slight few in the entire school that was very overweight by the time I was end of grade school. And it was just apparent, like, am I going to lose weight? Am I going to be this person? I mean, I fixated on being skinny for so long growing up, and associated that as a point of shame or a point of darkness, or not being enough. And I went on many diets. I did Weight Watchers. I did the pay and weigh things. I did a lot of not eating. I mean, I went without. I thought you had to, in my mind, right, I put it at this, well, I'm going to be hungry if I'm going to be skinny. I'm just going to have to go hungry, because that's what I, for some reason, equated to being skinny, was I shouldn't eat. And I mean, my first really successful diet was at the age of 12, when I was over 220 something pounds, 230 pounds, and I was maybe 5'7", 5'6", the age of 12 in sixth grade. And I stopped eating. I think I would eat like maybe 500 calories a day. I'd weigh every day. I'd go run at the Y, and a successful beginning to the day was if I lost weight, just using that one variable of the scale. If I didn't lose weight, I was kind of in the dumps, and I would eat a lot less, like barely anything. And I lost 75 pounds. This is at the age of 12. So in seventh grade, I was actually, I think that's when I surpassed 200 pounds. This is like 1992, 93. That's the last time I was under 200 pounds until 2015. A lot in between there, but there was a lot of plug and play, a lot of trial and error through high school, getting up over 300 pounds, and eventually coming back down, just plugging and playing, yo-yo dieting, up over 300, below 300. Let's do protein shakes. Let's do macros like I did with the coach in high school. Eat 6 meals a day, and just maybe overtraining would be a good way to put it. I actually was at the gym 3 days a week doing the same workout on the upper body and not giving my body enough time to rest. I didn't understand that was the wrong approach. And I just was like, oh, weightlifting's not for me, until I left college and was like, I'm going to give this a go. And I did a lot of research and understood that I need to separate my workouts. I mean, it was the first time at age 22 where I really was open to learn more. And yet I still hadn't learned enough. And I don't believe we're ever done learning, even here in the present moment, Dwight. But in my 20s, I went from living in Boston by folks to living on my own to being successful in my mind, healthy. Before my after picture was 240. Because I was like, yeah, I was so healthy when I was 23. I was 24. I was 240. And now that's a before picture. I mean, I just had to grasp on any victory, any small level of hope or belief to create this unstoppable level in my mind, unstoppable level of motivation that would not end in failure, that would keep momentum. It was just this big obsession of, I need this over the top, go at it. And then all of a sudden I'm up over 400 pounds. I mean, it just, and it was like, how did this happen? Like, how did all of a sudden I'm at 430 and I'm doing a weight loss competition at age 29 when I'm in corporate sales. And we go to a Chinese buffet and load up like two of the other contestants that I started this contest at work. We go beef up at the buffet before the weigh. And then we go weigh in. I think I was like 426. And maybe got down 410. I got second place in the competition, but it didn't give me results for the long term. That led to a darkness like never before, getting let go from that company. And I was about 30 years old, and then I basically needed to live. I mean, I kind of skipped over that piece that you mentioned in the intro, which was somehow the universe, God, I mean, this outside power chose to introduce me to this gentleman at a referral network that I befriended, and I introduced him to some other friends, and we actually went down to a flow trip. And I'm a big guy, so I don't take my shirt off. I must have had like sleeve up on the canoe or whatever it was, but he's been to Mexico. He was a talent scout in Mexico and LA, and he had all kinds of skin cancers, and he just saw a spot, and he's like, look, Chris, hand on the shoulder, you got to get this looked at. You got to get it checked out. And a month later, I was in the dermatologist's office, and the doctor looked down, and he's like, yeah, that's coming off. I mean, he gave it a half a second look. He's like, that's coming off. And I was like, okay, what's the next step? And he said, well, can you come back at 4:30? And it was like a couple hours, I mean, that day to have this removed, have some surgery. And I was just kind of in shock of the whole thing. I remember shaking the pen as I signed the consent before the procedure. And I remember going to the bar that night, going to the same karaoke bar I went to maybe 4 times a week at that point, and just like, okay, life, what else you got? It wasn't really a present reaction. It was just like I was just kind of numb to it. And they tested it, and it was the third most severe form of skin cancer, which is melanoma. Like, okay, I just had melanoma removed. I was spared. Somehow I was saved by a introduction that one of my friends to this day, I still go on an annual snowboard trip with. He introduced me to the friend at his referral network. And if that wouldn't have happened, Dwight, we wouldn't be talking. But that piece and my reaction to not really caring made me start thinking about the end. I was just like, I didn't have a plan on suicide, but I just didn't care that I was, 430 pounds, and I just had never failed at this level at that point in my life. And I envisioned my funeral, and I did not care at that point the way I would today. I saw my parents, and I felt their sadness. I felt their emotion from head to toe, and I couldn't breathe. I felt my brother there. I felt my friends, and the pain that I felt them experience, like at this hypothetical funeral, motivated me to do something different. And that was reach out to a therapist and to get out of this depression that was just this darkness I'd never experienced at this level. It took me about a year of that before I sought further coaching, sought further help, and then became a trainer. I interviewed to become a trainer at 340 pounds. So I was 100 pounds down on my journey. And I was just so convinced, like, this is going to be the way. I have coaches, I have a therapist. I'm going to learn about this obsession about fitness, nutrition, weight loss. And you mentioned in our earlier conversation about your history with CrossFit. I don't think I even heard about CrossFit before I became a trainer, or many of these workouts that several other people had introduced to me, as far as these ideas of that were almost counterintuitive, like doing squats with just my body weight. 300 something pounds, like even now at 195, I do squats with my body weight. Like, not always, but just these new counterintuitive things. I'm like, what's that about? What's this about? A new way to work out. Like, every day was this. This is all new. It was exciting. It was scary, and it was wonderful to be in a gym environment. It was like a sanctuary. Like, people didn't give away food. There wasn't just random food at the office. And when there was, like, we were the training company entity within the club, and there was club sales. And if they would bring in like pizza or something, I remember having like a point of pride on it. I would take the pizza and put it outside on like a bush. Like, it was just, and my director of training would be like, "Good job, man." He'd be like, "High five, man. Get rid of that stuff." And it was cool though. I remember around Christmas time, some of the other trainers' clients would give them snacks or whatnot. It felt like a sanctuary where 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, whatever it was, we're talking about health, we're living health, we're embodying it, and we're in this place of health and action. And it was a cool thing. It was a cool moment of my journey that made me face head on the big stopping point for me, the big block of losing 100 pounds and then going to the next level, which was below 300. And a lot of that was this almost like a barometer, if that's the right scale, like the Richter scale. It was just like, I couldn't fathom getting below, then I'd be back up. And it was just like this until another trainer said, like, "It sounds like they're eating way too much." And I didn't realize, like, well, what I'd ate to lose weight at 400 pounds, I could no longer eat at 300 pounds to lose weight. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah,
so like this, my body was changing, my knees were changing. And I did kind of skip over that, Dwight, but I always thought that I had to restrict my food. And a big thing that I started that journey on in 2010 was eating more. 10 calories a pound. And I've heard about that for years. Like, I waited for 7 years. Like, I can't beat it, right? 4,000 calories for 400-pound person. And I tried it. I'm like, what else do I have to lose? And I lost 100 pounds doing that. Like, I was exercising 6 days a week. Not anything extreme, like 3, 4, 5 hours a day, like we see on TV. I tried out for the show, so I thought I was going to, that's the only way. I got to be in a controlled environment and restrict what I eat and work out with trainers and other people and contestants, like live action for 6 hours a day. And that wasn't the case. This was different. I ate 6 to 8 meals a day. The in-between meals were shakes. And I worked out 6 days a week. They weren't extreme, maybe 30-minute workouts on the cardio that were high interval. I broke a sweat by just waking up. Right? I broke a sweat just walking. When I stood longer than 15 minutes at 400 pounds, my legs were numb. So now it's like breaking a sweat is not easy. I can't take for granted. There's this level, your question about the origin, like, I can see my abs and I don't take that for granted. I've gotten so much help, so much in terms of life change and lessons, like to maintain that, it's not even a question of maintaining, which I thought I was needing to do my whole life. Was let me get to maintaining. Let me get to maintenance. There is no maintaining. There is no maintenance. There's always next level. And that's the ultimate fulfillment, is this next level, is this drive for outside of boredom. Like sometimes boredom, I mean, it's what your body will not respond to. It's what your life, what your heart and soul. When I just never responded to boredom. I wanted it to be exciting. My health is definitely no exception to that. My body's not going to respond to the same workout. It's not going to respond to the same nutritional plan. And I mean, the long and short of that, the origin led up to helping other people full time as a trainer on my own. And it also led to another level of success that I was just like, this is too much, too many changes. And it led to my ego just blowing up about 5 or 6 years ago. Being on prescription ADHD medication, being like bulimic, right? It was like these things that even at 400 pounds, I was at that level of bulimic behaviors. And that came back up when I was very successful as a trainer 7 years ago. And I needed additional support. I needed to be more open-minded to go after those fears, even more so than I ever did before. And at a level of humility, I did not do that by any means. I didn't get out of that or through that alone. I wanted to, but there was no award show at the end of the tunnel that says, hey, you did this on your own. You know, there's no, I don't know why. I thought that was maybe that was the softer way to go, or whatever it was. It basically was the closed-minded way to go. It was the way that it would shut down any outside help. It would shut down any growth, any really organic heart and soul growth. And it would really ultimately block me off. And all of that led to what's really important. I mean, a spiritual connection that I still have and grow and build those muscles that were never there in terms of being sound and whole, have developed out of necessity, because I felt more dark and more down, more depressed, Dwight, in 2014 and 15 on that downward spiral of my first business. I mean, than I did when I was over 400 pounds. I don't know if it was just me being numb because I had so much food. I drank a lot back when I was over 400 pounds. I had just so many things that I wasn't addressing. I wasn't really aware of. But after achieving that success and the sports car, the high-rise condo, the insatiable girlfriend, whatever, I was insatiable, I'll be honest. The whole thing of it was like, why am I still feeling amiss? Why am I still feeling like there's something wrong when I have everything and then some that I ever thought I valued? And that is a huge answer to the origin question. This level of success is not going to be monetary or material or through other people. The only level of success that I really value now is one that is, am I doing everything possible to grow in my capacity? Am I doing everything possible right now, pushing that envelope where I feel I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, or I don't know if this is all I have, but I'm going to try. Am I comfortable in what I'm doing? Am I taking all the credit? Am I open to feedback? Am I open-minded to growth? What don't I know right now? Those things are things I value that include this entire year. This has been a wonderful year, and I've posted on that how amazing this 2020 has been for a catalyst for action, catalyst for opportunity. I actually felt like I was cheating on my creative energy back in June when the gym reopened. Because I was doing, as we were talking about earlier, 75 hard, where I actually had to program. So I got my programming skills back in regular rotation on the fitness side, and I create my workouts at home or at the park organically. And then when the gym opened, I'm like, this doesn't feel right. It's not as challenging. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it sure does. You have, yeah, your origin. Great. You're great at sharing your story of your origin. Mao, and the amount of points and notes I wrote down here. You've been on quite the journey, brother. At such a young age to be so heavy, to fight, to go down in weight. You know, you did your like you mentioned, your yo-yo dieting in high school, but to be in sixth grade and be over 220 pounds and lose 75 by starvation more than anything, you've been through the roller coaster all the way from being very young to, you know, getting to a point where, like, as you mentioned, you were, you know, you had, even though you hit some success, you were still stuck. You had bad habits even as early as still 6 years ago that were resonating within your life, and you weren't sure what's going to happen tomorrow. And what didn't you know? All the things that have culminated to where you are today, to even when you talked about 75 hard with, you know, Andy Frisella. Those that are listening, check it out. It's an amazing program. It's not just about physical fitness, it's about mental toughness. And it's something that you need to check out. But I can't believe, you know, you talked about the fact of getting melanoma. Well, I lost one of my best friends in the world 4 years ago. It started as melanoma. And if you don't take care of it, for listeners, melanoma is the easiest cancer to deal with if it's caught fast enough. If you don't, it goes into your blood and it becomes multiple myeloma, and it is scary as hell. My friend was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. 5.5 months later, he was gone. So, you know, you went through a lot. And as you mentioned, an intro to a friend, if you wouldn't have had that intro to that person, you wouldn't have got it caught. It could have been that you might have been that person where it went from an easily treatable cancer. Not that it's not scary. It is incredibly scary. I've had more than one friend die from melanoma, just so you know. Close friends.
Wow.
A friend Brad of mine died from melanoma. It would have been probably 6 years ago now. And it started as melanoma, he got brain cancer, the list goes on, and he was gone in about 11, 12 months at least after I'd found out about it. So melanoma is a serious thing, people out there. Like, take care of your skin. You know, the sun is great, but you also got to do things to protect your largest organ on your body, which skin is. So thank you for sharing that. And then there's so many good things that I don't know where to even jump around. It's just, you had so many great nuggets. I highly suggest those listening go back and listen to this again, take some notes because there's some amazing transformation that Chris has gone through. And, you know, throughout the process, the 6 inches between your ears was and like many, to stay dedicated and achieve, you have to have hope or belief to hang on to. As you mentioned, those were your words. You have hope and belief to hang on to. And the associations, you mentioned that too. The associations are so key. You know, being at the gym is an association that helps people level up their thought process, because everybody there may be thinking about pizza or donut, but they're not doing the pizza or donut. They're literally having people like your friend encouraged you and said, good for you with the pizza, right? That sort of thing. So my point is that throughout this whole process, your belief in yourself or your lack of belief is why you went through a roller coaster, up and down, up and down. And as you developed stronger belief in yourself, most of it's because of your associations, the coaching, the training, whether or not you were learning how to do it properly yourself and teach others. but the associations of people, sometimes we need to remove ourselves from the environment. And why so many people struggle when they work out at home is they can't stay dedicated. And a lot of people have home gyms and never use them, and they end up either not succeeding, or they realize that they need the association of the people at the gym. They need that environment of seeing others struggle, seeing other people that are already successful, believing in themselves, knowing they can get there. But it doesn't happen on their own. They have to have encouragement. They have to have coaching and mentorship to believe in themselves. And it sounds like, obviously at the end of the day, it all falls back on us. We're 100% accountable to us and our success. But it sounds like throughout your origin from, back when your mom and dad created you to now, you've found some great people, and you've become one of those great people to others. Isn't that how the circle of life works, Chris? You became that to others. And you're going to continue to level up, and you're going to continue to help others level up. And that's exciting. Your origin story is amazing.
Thanks, brother. It's energizing to think about other people and what is possible. I mean, to look at this whole next year in 2021, what could be your impossible goal? And whether it's weight loss or whether it's any other business that's unrelated, your business industry, anything you're thinking about, those things can be driven off of why you want them to happen, your purpose, and just envisioning the energy that you actually have done those things. Envisioning you as that person a year into the future. What is that? What does that look like? What does that day look like when you wake up and those impossible goals are realized? Who is that person? How do you act? How do you think? What's the first thing you do that day? Those are valid questions that actually a mentor helped me see 10 years ago, becoming a trainer, to help someone envision their own success. And I still use those things, those practices to really almost like a self-shock a year into the future, but then to know it's going to happen versus, wow, we're here and now I'm too scared. I've experienced that, Dwight, where I've experienced the ultimate success before realizing that I actually was capable of doing it. And it's very scary if it's too soon at that point. But I look forward to giving that back. And it's so energizing to think about these gifts that we're talking about right now, from your story to everyone that's been on your show, and full circle, that synergy, it will be a contagious energy to someone else. They can do it. It's not that you and I are special. We're talking about this thing. I mean, we are one of one copies by all means. We are humans. And when I see someone else achieve these things that are unthinkable, it's like, wow, we can do these too. We can actually do it. One time in my life, I was like, must be nice. My 20s, okay, that's not my story. And those were the defeatist type things that led to more of the same. It led to this burn inside that was like, man, I'm not even going to try. And then I just feel like, it was draining. That was more of an energy suck than actually going to work out. That was more of a draining attitude to have than just doing something that's really counterintuitive. This year, like Andy Purcell, 75 Hard, going for a walk at 11 o'clock at night, just to make sure you get that workout in. Those things are, if I wasn't on that challenge or that side of like, this has to be done, like I would, I was delivering a car in my day job early out of state for COVID. And I'm like, man, am I going to run in Toledo? Am I going to let me go for a park run? I'm like, I'll probably fall asleep at the wheel. Let me just get home and then do it. But I was thinking about scenarios to make that happen as it was happening. Like, worst case, I go to a hotel, but I could still walk somewhere safe. Or like these ideas of there is a way. There's always a way. Those things give you an opening. They give us all an opening to, it doesn't have to be just like this exact cookie cutter outcome, but there is a way. It opens up so many possibilities to why not?
Yeah,
why not now?
Exactly. I like that one of one copy. I'm going to steal that.
Okay,
And
you got it.
one copy. I always talk to people about your unique, like your fingerprint. Nobody has the same fingerprint. But I like that. I like that unique idea of being one-of-one copy, because you are unique. You are one-of-one copy. And, you talked about in your 20s and, not believing yourself. We talk about that as being, we all have self-limiting beliefs. And we can, 10 years after we think we've arrived, that we've got it, that we grasp it, that we're, rock solid, everything can spiral, everything can change. And that's because we constantly need to feed our 6 inches between our ears, or self-limiting belief creeps back in. It can be as simple as one person that you don't give a crap what they say or think, but you're not in that right headspace, and they say something, and it can make you spiral into a rabbit hole. We don't realize how powerful. So listeners, the power of the words that you say to other people, that you put in print, that you relay in any way, shape, or form, whether it's visual or it's written, auditory, whatever the case may be, can help people rise up. And you can crush them at the same time. So you know what? And this is going to sound harsh. Bottom line, if you're not sure, don't say it. It's better to be thought an idiot than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. And I'll say that again. It may sound harsh. Watch what you say to others. You have no right to crush other people with your self-limiting beliefs and make theirs come back or increase what they're already living in. Think about what you're going to say, right? It's better to be thought an idiot than to open your mouth and remove all doubt, right? I'd rather, if I'm not sure about something that I'm going to say and how it's going to affect somebody, just keep it inside. Smile, be kind. That's the number one thing when you're helping others level up and get out of their place of uncomfortableness or their self-limiting beliefs. Kindness still is the number one thing on the planet, and people just don't get that. So, we're going to go on with the next conversation. It's easy for you and I, it seems. We can get on a soapbox and go on, which is great. It just gives me the idea that, as I talked about with you earlier, the series of Chris Brown and your evolution will become part of Give a Heck, and we'll have other episodes and we'll have other discussions, because I'm thoroughly enjoying this. We're never going to get through everything I wanted to discuss with you. But one of the things I wanted to ask, and this is kind of a little bit different, something I read that you had, that I looked up, or you might have sent it to me. I know you're now an active hiker and trail runner. Can you share the initial trials of starting to just walk longer than 5 to 10 minutes, and what you did nutrition wise as well as the exercise to eventually get where you are today?
Absolutely. So in 2010, I received a invite to my buddy's wedding in Vegas. It was going to be October 2010, and it was the same weekend that Mizzou football were blowing up, and I think we were game day. ESPN was at the Columns in the South Quad, and we were in Vegas, so I couldn't go to the game or that event, but we watched it from TV. And for some reason, I waited, I procrastinated, as I did many times with many things, until the last week of the last, I think I booked the flight and the hotel. And since I waited that long, there was an entertainment act or whatnot in town, and I had to stay at a hotel off the strip instead of in the hotel next to where my friends were getting married at the Flamingo. So I couldn't stay in the Imperial Palace or anywhere on the strip. I had to stay off site, and I was unemployed this time. So, I mean, Vegas is nothing but walking or taxis. And I'm 400 something pounds here, and my feet were on fire. I mean, I got taxis, but I was just broke. I was probably 3 miles from the strip. On the map, it looked really close to life. I'm like, oh, I can do that. And I remember walking home several times, and even just walking up and down the strip, it's a hike, and my feet were on fire. I couldn't afford doing taxis everywhere. And I remember the flight home, it was just kind of you got your post-partiers on the flight there. Everyone's excited about Vegas. They approach the lights at night, and then leaving, everyone's like, speaking whatever. There's no filter. I think some guy behind me was just like, big things weren't meant to be in small places. I was, walking down the aisle of the plane, I absorbed everything in terms of everyone's reaction. Please don't sit next to me. Those type of things. That was my life. Okay, that's the guy I am. Shame. I don't want to sit next to you either. I know it. I gotta do it. I gotta be here. And I, had to ask the flight attendants for a seat belt extender. Those things. This is back when Kevin Smith had the whole, I think it was Southwest Airlines about the extra seat that thing before his journey. And he's now a wonderful success transformation story as well. But the process of walking for 5-10 minutes was such a excruciating feat. It was like, I just to wrap my head around looking back, it was a lot. I mean, my legs would sting, they would go numb. I hope I got a seat at the table when we had meetings at the company I was at, because we would have the whole company in a 12-seat boardroom. And if I had to stand up, I mean, my legs are going to go numb, leaning against the wall for half hour, 45-minute meeting. It was embarrassing. It was extremely challenging. And those were part of my reality, including carrying 2 towels around during the summer because I just could never stop sweating. I sweated for just to walk around. I sweat wherever. And even getting in and out of a sedan, my car, my hip would pop out of place. And it wasn't like a good pop, like, oh, it feels great, let me pat my back. It was like, something's wrong, and I would basically, I would like grunt in pain because it would hurt. And it was all from the weight. That led to, I got to be open to something new. That led to, I got to try something I've never tried before. And this has got to go. And I'm going to do these things. If I can live through that, then I can do something very painful. I can do something I'm very scared of, which was, let's do what I've been suggested by trainers. Amy Frisella had a contest at his store in 2006 at one of the first $10,000 contests where we come into the store, the supplement store. They had trainers, chiropractors, people on a panel to help you. It was an environment of growth. Let's do a Q&A. And I remember them saying, like, you can squat with your body weight. Amy would say that. You don't need to do any weight right now, any on the rack. You can eat 10 calories per pound. Like, this is really exciting for where you're at right now. He looked at it in a positive way. You can do 10 calories per pound. And I'm like, I'm 400 pounds. He's like, I know, but how great is that you can have enough to eat right now at this point in your journey? And it took, from hearing that the first time to actually doing it, it was about 3-4 years. But when I did it, it's like, holy shit, this is actually working. This is actually possible. I'm not starving. I'm giving my body sustenance. I'm giving my body what it needs. And I lost 100 pounds that way. It was so counterintuitive, but doing these things that don't make any sense at all, they work. And for me, it took this, am I going to die experience or my no reaction to melanoma, as you mentioned, is very serious. I have been close friends like you, but I know that it is a serious disease, and I had no reaction to it. That led me to try this new thing, which was, well, I'm facing death. I'm facing pain, humiliation, physical exertion like never before. I might as well try this thing and be open to it. And you know what? It works.
It's fantastic. Thanks for sharing. Listen to that again, listeners. Wow. I think about the fact of you being 400 pounds, you're broke, can't take cabs, and you have to walk Vegas. And I've been in Vegas far too often, not for partying, but usually for conferences and business. I've never gone to Vegas ever for just pleasure. And not that I'm against it. I'm not a gambler. I'm not a big drinker. But I've walked that strip, and in that heat, even when I was at my heaviest, right, 240, 245 pounds, and And, yeah, small comparison to what you went through, but I know how I felt walking down that strip in the heat and sweating, and because it was already hot out, but I would sweat. Didn't matter. I used to always have night sweats. I'd lay in bed and wake up and everything's soaked all the time. And it was because of lack of proper nutrition, lack of, I was too heavy, but it was a lot of times it had to do with my nutrition as well. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn, and I didn't know how to be vulnerable to people to ask for help. And, it's just, and even because I wasn't necessarily at the right frame in my mindset to want to change. I was stuck in a rut, knew I wasn't happy, but didn't know I wasn't happy enough to change, to pivot and get out of it. So, you talked about your feet being on fire and, being on the plane. Please don't sit near me. I'd be lying, and the listeners, you'd be lying to yourself if you've never had somebody come on a plane or on a bus that's 300-400 pounds and you hope they don't sit beside you. That's vulnerable sharing, right? Because you knew you could pick up in that energy of people looking at you. And it's not because people in society are mean. It's not the funnest to sit beside somebody that's 300-400 pounds in a plane. I've been there, right? It's not fun for them. It's not fun for you. So, the realization and you being able to share that is, from 400 pounds walking down the Vegas Strip, your feet hurting, to being on a plane, to, knowing people don't want you to sit beside you. And then, you go into Andy's store and they talk about squatting out no weight and the 10 calories, per pound, and just all the things you've been through. Thank you for sharing that. I hope listeners or anybody that's possibly watching this on YouTube realize that life's a journey. It's not easy. It's in session. There's going to be hills and valleys. There's going to be things that push you, things that bring you back. Just keep on keeping on. I believe in you. Chris believes in you. Reach out if you need help or you need guidance, you need a hand up. Don't think you're ever alone. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is most people don't think about their own funeral and how it will impact their family. Did you at the time ever share this with your family or friends, and they encouraged you to go on the journey you went on? Or was this simply an internal driver for you to want to change?
Good question. I did not share that with my mother and father at the time. Possibly my brother. I don't remember quite. My brother and I, within 5 seconds, we could get each other rolling. We finished those quotes from movies too. I maybe called him on it. It was a big point of shame. And it really was, back then I motivated myself out of necessity for survival with fear. And I no longer do that. It was, I'm not going to be okay unless I do such and such. And now, through so much change, so many mentors, so many spiritual practices, I'm okay now. I don't need to grow. I want to grow. I don't need to have a life coach. I don't need to have a transformation person in my life. I want to, for me. I believe I shared it with a therapist at that time. It was just so, it probably actually led me to my first session with the therapist. And this was the second therapist I worked with. I moved from Boston to work with my first one. And, being with the therapist, it was kind of a cool thing that, okay, every week we're committing to something. We're committing to change. We're committing to showing up. And I just don't recall sharing that with anyone else. I didn't have much of a close circle. My best friends, I didn't open myself in a vulnerable way the way even we are today. I didn't, because I was very afraid to reveal something so close to, which is actually my authentic, who the fuck I am, excuse me. That's who I am. I was so afraid to share that with the world, let alone people I'd known my whole life, that I didn't. And that year, next of therapy, and I think it was right after that first year in becoming a trainer, I went on a road trip to go see a comedian, Bill Maher. At the time, it was probably 2011, and he'd go into cities that held the opposing views or whatnot. But we drove down with my best friend and I opened up to him about some things, and he actually opened up to me about some things. And I'd known him my 20 years at that point, now 30 years. But I was like, almost like, we just shared it with him on the road. And I don't know what it was, but it was things like this about where I'm going, and this has got to change. You've seen me lose weight. I'm in therapy. That was probably the big thing. And I don't agree with you or whatever it was. It was just a real conversation. I don't agree with you on everything to my friend. And then he opened up about some things he had that he had encountered in terms of his own journey medically or help that he sought that I had never talked about. Like, wow, I'm actually opening up and being vulnerable, and it welcomes vulnerability. It welcomes authenticity. It is a breeding ground for growth and for really living that I was always afraid of. I have to control what other people think about me. I have to manage my relationships and how I'm perceived. And that's draining in itself. It's the opposite of life.
That is what a great share. That was just, wow. Point of shame, right? You talked about, your fear drove you, right? And you don't necessarily let it then, but back then it was a catalyst. And, you talked about discussing it and talking about it with your friend, and, you agreed to disagree. I love that part, because I always tell people, and I had this conversation actually yesterday with one of my daughters. We didn't necessarily agree on something. And normally we always discuss stuff. And her response was, I don't want to discuss this because it can become heated. And initially I thought to myself, okay, fine. I responded to her. And then I messaged her a couple hours later. So this was a couple nights ago. I messaged her and said, we've always had open conversations, Dad and you. She's one of my 5 kids. And I said, I appreciate the fact of where you're coming from, but I don't agree that we should ignore this. We've always had open conversations since you were younger, and we developed that kind of relationship. We can discuss something, and you may not like what Dad says in my vlog. And that's how it all started. You didn't like what I said in my vlog, but you can't not possibly like everything that I said. So we need to discuss this. We need to clear the air. So we got on a call last night, a FaceTime call, and we discussed it, and we didn't agree with everything, but it was open. It was honest. It was sincere, vulnerable. Like you said, it was authentic. It was how she felt, how I felt. And I tell listeners, it's okay to have conversations with people. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Remember that. Again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You can agree to disagree in life and walk away and still have friends, still have family. If your conversations are always polarizing and you feel like crap when you're discussing things with people, and you have this pit in your stomach and you regret having to be around that person or resent the fact of seeing them again, change your association. But if you like overall what you communicate about, and you do have points of conversation where you don't agree, that's okay. The connection, the vulnerability, the being authentic that Chris talks about is so imperative. So, communicate with people. If you're feeling that, like Chris did, the funeral aspect of it, and worrying about, leaving behind people and the despair and anguish that it would create, talk to somebody, right? Do not hold that in. If you're scared to talk to even myself, reach out to me or Chris. There's a lot of great resources on the internet even, right? There's suicide prevention lines. There's, support networks. There's a lot of free things. If you need that push, reach out. We'll push you to get, past that hurdle of your mental block, the thing that's holding you back in your life. So, one of the things else I wanted to discuss as well, What would you say in your life are some of the things that you wish you had done better on the road to where you're currently at?
All right. I guess everything could have been done better to an extent. Uh, that's a really good question. Some of the things, just looking back in the last 10 years, I love this question. I would have failed a lot quicker. I would have done the things that were so uncomfortable, so uncomfortable first. I would have hit my uncomfortable block right between the eyes and got it out of the way with action, and realized it was way smaller than the big mountain I was making it out to be. Most recently, in the last 3 years, I've become complacent at around 200 pounds, 195 with my workouts. I found I could actually maintain my healthy lifestyle with 3 workouts a week. Maybe one of them was on the trail, maybe 2 of them at best were challenging where I was breaking a sweat, but overall 3 workouts a week. And I used to love that release. I used to love the feeling of pushing myself and actually feeling the medication of the endorphins, the medication of a good workout. I feel fulfilled head to toe because I did this hard thing, not during it, but after it. Like, wow, I gave it my all. I wish I gave it my all a lot sooner. It took me a few years to do that. And to sum up that last story of becoming complacent, watching TV at night when I got home, not reading books that I wanted to read, and give my full attention to in areas that I wanted to grow and develop. Doing the 75 hard earlier this year just pinpointed all of those, from the reading aspect to the give it all you got aspect to the let's look at what my life could look like and what I could do in the next 7-8 weeks, especially in the climate of COVID, where we're all living in this proverbial science fiction upside down, if you will, if you're a fan of Stranger Things audience. Sorry, Dwight.
I am.
Okay. Nice. So the upside down has been this entire year. I mean, I'm so fascinated by like March of 2020. I turned 40 on March 20th. I guess I did. It's just like we all have this new experience, but I'm fascinated by the perception of time and the relativity and the really non-existence of time. In March, it felt like, as everyone called it, the year that is March. And there's a book, I forget the author, it was called The Shake the Sleeping Self. The author rode his bike with a buddy from Portland, Oregon down to Patagonia, Argentina in a year and a half. And the premise was, when you experience everything challenging, everything possible at a new level as if you are a child, it slows time down. As we were children, time was very slow. It's like, wow, I'm sitting here in class and it's an 8-hour day and just everything is brand new. It takes forever. And now as we're in routine, we're in adult life, and it's just, we like routines, we like the normal, we like to know what's expected and what's going to happen and predictable. It speeds time up. And part of us, totally Tony Robbins here, the uncertainty meets the actual need for the unknown. Hierarchy of needs, if you will. Like, there's something inside us that burns and like rejects, like, I don't want to know what's going to happen. It would be boring if we had the time machine. And here we're given this gift of March 2020 that says, like, wow, let's have perspective here. When everything is new and we're challenging ourselves in every way possible that we always wanted to, and going after these desires that we deserve and always wanted to put into our lives, our time slows down, our life fills up, our fulfillment level goes through the roof. That's really what I would have done a lot sooner, were things pushing my next level, not getting complacent. And thank you for reminding me of that, because I still, as human, will go back into that one need of wanting to know what's coming down the pipe, or wanting to know how the next week or the next day or the next 5 minutes even is going to look, versus having excitement about the unknown, versus giving it my all and feeling fulfilled at that level. maybe just like giving this podcast or giving this moment my all, my full attention, or giving some person a smile, wishing them some happiness in the next 5 minutes, bringing them some joy. A complete stranger, that energizes me from head to toe. I'm a natural goofball at times. I mean, you mentioned we're not doing the pizza, doing the donut. And I'm like, my mind goes to some reference. And I'm like, that sounds very good. Taking out context. They're like, okay. But I mean, I just go there and want to spread that joy and want to be fulfilled in that way. That's my fulfillment, is being happy and being full of joy. And maybe being challenged to not be that way sometimes, I guess, to be serious. So to answer your question, pushing my level of discomfort and going for the things that I desire a lot sooner.
That's good. You know, your response is what a mentor is, because a mentor understands and looks back and is honest with themselves about the circumstances they've been through. And by you sharing the fact of what you wish you would have done better, like talking about failing a lot quicker, that is so true. People that are listening to this right now, listen to that little segment again, because it is so imperative for you to understand that in order for you to collapse timeframes, sometimes you need to listen to others' struggles, their trials, their tribulations that they've gone through, so you can collapse the timeframes and not go through that, not go through the hiccups in life. And that's what people like Chris as a mentor, coach can be, is somebody that can help you by leveling up and understanding his story and him being vulnerable. It'll give you hope. It'll drive you to succeed quicker. And then all the tools in his toolbox that it can help you to level up and continue to push forward, where you won't have to go through the loneliness and the struggle that he did. So, Chris, if you had to give our listeners one last closing message, what would you tell them in regards to giving a heck and never giving up?
I love that question, Dwight. In regards to giving a heck and never giving up, find why you give a heck. Find what will fulfill you from head to toe. What will make your heart sing? Ask yourself that question. Overall, what is a goal that you have, a desire that you want to be present in your life and to be realized every day? Not only you, but for those that you love, for those that you spend time with, for your environment, how you live your life. The things that have made you always wonder what if. Those are good questions to ask yourself that can actually be something to journal on, meditate on, or to ponder what's really going to, not what's going to make money, not what's going to satisfy the survival side, but what's going to be that next level experience and existence that you always wanted to experience, that you always wanted to live since you were 10, since you were 20, since you were 30, the reoccurring burning desire that you have. Once you define that, have energy around it, find other people that are all the same way, that also practice that. Give it a shot, but not only give it a shot, give it a heck, as Dwight says, and actually never give up. It could be a series of courses. It could be not just a one, well, I just went to one of them, it didn't really fit. Maybe you didn't give it your all. Maybe you didn't give it everything you got. Maybe you didn't give a heck in every way possible. Until you find something that just feels like you would do it for free, it energizes you and you feel it, experience it in your voice, as I am now. Like, it's just so wonderful talking about just development, next level, motivation and joy. When you have that thing that lights you up, you're onto something. Keep running with it. Write it down, live it, multiply it, give a heck, and continue. And when you're that person, you are finding out more about yourself, and you're answering that question, the what if, you're answering the why and who I am. And it's just energizing. It builds upon itself. You don't even need to be paid to do it. At that point, if you can make yourself get paid and somehow monetize that and share that with someone else, I mean, all the better. But there's so much magic that can happen from defining that. Why you would give a heck, and then why never giving up is so crucial. And you're going to find other people. It's going to be magnetic in that process and in your journey. I wish you well on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the great closing message. Yeah, you will find people. You just basically never give up on yourself. Realize, those that are listening, realize that you are worth it, right? You have a place in controlling the legacy of what you leave behind. You just have to want it bad enough. I want it for you. Chris wants it for you. You know, by listening to this podcast, you want it for you, because you wouldn't be listening to a podcast called Give a Heck if you weren't looking for something, if you didn't feel yourself hollow somewhere, feeling empty, right? So never give up. Give a heck about yourself. Reach out to us. Reach out to somebody to help you pivot and elevate your life. So, while our time is almost up, and I want to respect our listeners and your time. However, before we end, can you please tell the listeners, what is the best way to reach you, Chris?
Absolutely. My Linktree, which will be Linktree Coach for Life. That's COACH, the number 4 life. You look up my Linktree. I'm also on Instagram at Success by Action.
Okay, I'll make sure that gets put into the show notes as well. And anything else you might want to have put in there in regards to connection and links, email, phone, whatever you want, you can just let me know before this gets put live. So thanks so much for being on Give a Heck, Chris. I appreciate your time and sharing some of your experiences so that others too can learn. It is never too late to give a heck. Thank you for taking time out of your day and listening to Give a Heck. If you find value, I'd appreciate you sharing with your friends and family so they too can learn how to live life on purpose, not by accident. So you do not miss the next episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and please also post a review. I look forward to reading your comments. This has been Dwight Heck. If you want to check out other podcast episodes or today's show notes, please check out my website, giveaheck.com. And until next time, together let us all strive to give a heck.